Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the CMMC Basic webinar. This webinar should take approximately 40 minutes. Before we begin, let's briefly cover a few housekeeping items. As you listen to this dynamic presentation, do not worry, we will have time for questions at the end. Place all questions in the chat window. If you're not able to hear your question on today's webinar, our team will follow up by email. In the event you have audio or visual issues, please type them in the chat window and the moderator will resolve your concerns. Today's slides and webinar recording will be provided to everyone registered via email early next week. To view our webinars on other regulations, please visit our website at www.controlcase.com. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and X for all of the latest updates and upcoming webinars. Well, let's get started. My name is Shamala Boyd. I serve as the Chief Risk Officer for ControlCase. Joining me today is my colleague, Eric Winkler.
Hello, everyone. This is Eric Winkler. I head up the federal practice here at ControlCase, and glad you could join us today for the webinar.
Thank you. Today's agenda, I will cover the introduction to ControlCase, and Eric will discuss DFARS, NIST 800-171, SPRS, CMMC overview, what is DFARS, what is NIST 800-171, what is an SPRS for, what is CMMC, CMMC next steps, and status of the CMMC 2.0 rule. ControlCase is a leading provider of compliance as a service with a subscription-based offering bundling our proprietary GRC software and managed services. ControlCase is revolutionizing the way enterprises and organizations deal with numerous and frequently changing IT compliance and regulatory requirements. Our compelling proprietary offering, combined with our software, certification audits, and managed services on a single platform, has made compliance easier for our clients. ControlCase was founded in 2004 and is serving over 1,000 customers. With over 300 team members worldwide, ControlCase is able to service our clients globally. We have offices located in the United States, Latin America, Europe, India, and Canada. ControlCase is an IT compliance manager for all industry segments, such as banking, service providers, retail, hospitality, and telecom, to just name a few. As a compliance partner to our clients, we have the ability to go beyond just a checklist auditor. This value helps our clients reduce time, cost, and burden of maintaining their IT compliance as they become certified across many different regulations. Through the partnership approach plus technology, utilizing the ControlCase Compliance Hub, our clients are able to complete IT certifications and continuous compliance all from one platform. Through our one audit, access once and comply to many, ControlCase is able to certify our clients across over a dozen regulations concurrently. Now we'll hand it over to Eric to walk us through the CMMC basics.
Thank you, Shamala. So this next section, I will give you an overview of DFARS, NIST 800-171, SPRS, and CMMC. And how these all fit together are shown here on this slide. Obviously, the basis of all of this is DFARS, which stands for the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement. And these are the kind of the base regulations and overarching regulations supporting the Department of Defense Industrial Base. On top of that, we have the NIST 800-171 control framework, which is published and managed by NIST and obviously is used by DFARS to help DIB contractors, Defense Industrial Base contractors, meet the requirements of the regulations. And then finally, we have on top the SPRS score, which is a methodology used to score a contractor's compliance with NIST 800-171. Putting this all together, obviously, is CMMC, and obviously the new version of CMMC, which is version 2.0, is the framework that will bring all of this together. So what is DFARS? As I mentioned, it stands for Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement. DFARS is the Federal Acquisition regulation that is administered by the Department of Defense. It implements and supplements the Federal Acquisition Regulations, or the FAR. DFARS was established in 2015 to protect the confidentiality of what is called controlled unclassified information within the Defense Industrial Base, or DIB. In order to receive a new contract award from the DoD, a contractor or supplier has to be in compliance with this set of cybersecurity regulations, also known as Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Supplement, or DFARS. So what is NIST? What is this regulation? These regulations that we're talking about, those are documented in NIST 800-171. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology at the U.S. Department of Commerce. The NIST Cybersecurity Framework, which is documented in NIST 800-171, helps businesses better understand, manage, and reduce their cybersecurity risk and protect their networks and data. Specifically, the NIST 800-171 standard dictates how contractors and subcontractors of federal agencies need to manage their controlled unclassified information. A basic NIST 800-171 assessment is a low confidence self-assessment conducted following the NIST 800-171 DoD assessment methodology. This assessment is then used to categorize the contractor's cybersecurity status to the DoD and let them know that they are in compliance with NIST 800-171. Now, as of November 30th, 2020, all DoD contractors have to conduct a NIST 800-171 basic assessment and submit their assessment results along with the score that comes out of that assessment to the Supplier Performance Risk System, or SPRS. NIST 800-171 is made up of 14 different control domains, and there are 110 specific security requirements within each of those domains. These 14 domains originally come from FIPS 200 and, of course, NIST 853, which is the other standard that is supported by NIST. As you can see, all of these different domains cover everything from access control through incident response, security awareness training, and then all the way through configuration management and media protection. These are all critical areas with requirements that are meant to protect the security of CUI data. So what is an SPRS score? So the Supplier Performance Risk System, or SPRS, is the DoD's application that gathers, processes, and displays data about a supplier's performance and their compliance with NIST 800-171. SPRS is a self-certification score, which is the result of performing your NIST 800-171 assessment, and it gives contracting officials a score for the overall assessment of that supplier's performance and that supplier's risk against the NIST 800-171 standard. So once you've generated your score, the new DFARS rules then require your organization to maintain your current score within the SPRS web portal itself, meaning the basic DoD self-assessment can be no more than 3 years old. So it must be updated on a regular basis. What is CMMC? CMMC stands for the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. It is, as mentioned earlier, the unifying standard for the implementation of cybersecurity across the defense industrial base. There was version 1 of CMMC that was released by the U.S. Department of Defense and became effective in November 2020. This has now been superseded by CMMC version 2.0, which was released in November 2021. CMMC ensures that DIB companies implement the appropriate cybersecurity practices and processes to protect federal contract information, or FCI, and controlled unclassified information CUI within their unclassified networks. And that is the focus of the CMMC standard. Who does CMMC apply to? CMMC applies to any defense industrial-based contractor whose unclassified networks process, store, or transmit controlled unclassified information, as well as federal contract information. So it applies to both data sets. And we'll get into that in a little more detail in the following slides and what the differences are between if you only handle FCI or if you handle FCI and CUI data. So this is where the different levels of CMMC come into play. So there are currently 3 levels of CMMC compliance. There's level 1, which is where an organization only handles FCI data. And then there's level 2 or 3, where the contractor can handle both CUI data in addition to FCI data. So what you need to know as how these levels apply to you and how it impacts your CMMC certification. First, for level 1, you can actually, the way it's currently architected, you can perform a self-assessment against the level 1 controls and then provide an assessment report that shows you are, compliant with those requirements. For the level 1 assessment, self-assessment, ControlCase can assist you in performing the review and can provide you with a way to measure your compliance to those level 1 controls. Additionally, there is what we are calling level 2A. Here, obviously, where you are permitted, because the information you manage is not critical to our national security, you may be permitted to perform a self-assessment for level 2 as well. Level 2 consists of 110 controls, all 110 controls in the CMMC 2.0 standard. And additionally, ControlCase can assist you with this self-assessment as well. And then the last two levels, level 2B, first of all, this is the one that will require a C3PAO to assess you and provide you with a certification to your level 2 CMMC compliance. This assessment will be required every 3 years and will have to be conducted again every 3 years by a C3PAO. And then level 3, which will be the highest level of CMMC certification, will include the 110 controls from level 2, plus additional controls that haven't been published yet by the DoD. But organizations that manage information that is most critical to our Department of Defense programs, those organizations will have to receive a government audit at least once every 3 years. So what are the next steps for CMMC? Well, what you need to do right now, if you haven't already, is register your organization using the SPRS website. And there's obviously an intake process that they follow. And then once you're registered, you should submit your SPRS score. As a contractor, this is a requirement. And obviously, in order for you to receive a government contract from the DoD, you will have to submit this score. From a CMMC assessment perspective, what you must do right now, as of June 2022, DFARS 7019 requires you to be compliant with all of the NIST 800-171 controls. And the submission of your NIST 800-171 compliance score must be submitted to the SPRS system. So submit your SPRS score to the SPRS website. For entities with just FCI and CUI within their unclassified networks, you need to document your system security plan, and there are templates available for that. You should perform an assessment of all of the NIST 800-171 controls as you have them documented in your SSP. And that includes formal evidence collection and reporting as well. And then you need to calculate your NIST 800-171 score, which is your SPRS score, as required by DFARS 7019. You must then document any deficiencies with remediation steps in a plan of action and milestones document. This should be very specific and include specific dates when these remediations will be completed. And then finally, you must complete the affirmation using the supplier performance risk system and the website, the DISA website that houses the SPRS program. And then you need to maintain evidence of your NIST 800-171 compliance to avoid any DOJ False Claims Act investigations. And this is basically the steps that need to be done as of today. ControlCase's CMMC assessment process is described here. For the our level one assessment process, we actually deploy our Compliance Hub solution with NIST 800-171 controls covering 17 practices. We then work with you to complete the scoping of the assessment. So we identify and make sure that we have the correct scope as documented in your system security plan. We then perform evidence. We actually provide and work with you to gather evidence against each of the 17 controls that are applicable for level one, NIST 800-171. And then we review those pieces of evidence in stages where we have 50% of the evidence reviewed and 100% of the evidence reviewed. Once we complete the evidence review and we have 100% reviewed and accepted, we help you by publishing a level one assessment report. And then you can use this report, to show that you are compliant and meeting the NIST 800-171 controls that are part of CMMC 2.0. And then for a level 2A assessment, again, this is the self-assessment portion for CMMC level 2. We would again use Compliance Hub, but this time you would have 110 controls or practices that would need to be met. We would follow the same process of scoping, 50% evidence complete and accepted, 100% evidence complete and accepted. And then we would again publish a level 2 self-assessment report for you. Both of these deliverables can be used if anybody questions your SPRS score and how you arrived at the SPRS score that you submit to SPRS. Next, I'd like to cover the status of the CMMC 2.0 rule. We've gone through a number of changes here in the last 6 months, so just kind of give a brief update on the status. So as of November 2023, OIRA completed their review of the 9 CMMC model documents, clearing the way for final rule publication. Now, as of December 2023, the CMMC proposed rule was published in the Federal Register, and that started the clock on a 60-day public comment period. Now, in Q1 2024, middle of the public comment period, and that's expected to be closed within obviously 60 days of December 2023. But the process, the DoD process, once the public comment period is closed, DoD will then start reviewing all comments and finalize the rule for CMMC 2.0. And then in Q1 2025, this is when we feel the CMMC final rule will be published and will go into effect sometime in Q1 2025. And then a 3-year phase rollout into all DoD contracts will begin at that point. Now I'd like to take this time to answer any of your questions. Please type your questions into the questions window. Again, as mentioned earlier by Shamala, any unanswered questions will be addressed by email following the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Eric. And that concludes our presentation. As Eric mentioned, we will take some questions from the chat. And if you do not hear your question today, do not worry. As a reminder, our team will reach out to you by email. All right. So you ready for a few questions, Eric?
Sure.
All right. One question we have is, my organization wants to bid on future DoD contracts. What do I need to do now to get ready for CMMC certification?
So if you're really just starting out in your venture, just as you're starting out to reach CMMC compliance, the best thing to do would be to start by performing a CMMC gap assessment of the environment that you plan to use to handle any FCI or CUI data. By performing this gap assessment, I think that will give you a roadmap for remediation of the environment and remediation of any policies and procedures that need to be updated as well in order to maintain or in order to meet CMMC compliance. And one thing, obviously, ControlCase is a registered practitioner organization. So if you need any assistance in performing a gap assessment and helping you document your remediation roadmap, this is a service that ControlCase can provide to your organization.
All right. So I have another question for you, Eric. It says, how can my company prepare for a CMMC certification audit?
That's a great question. Obviously, we've been, as leaders in our organization, we've been through audits ourselves, and we know how complex and complicated those can be sometimes. So to make sure that your team and your organization is ready for a CMMC auditor to come on site and perform the audit, I recommend that you perform a mock audit where all key personnel that you plan to have participate in that audit can get practice in responding to specific auditor questions, helping them understand your CMMC environment, and make sure that they have a good grasp of the policies and procedures that you're using for your, to ensure that your CMMC environment is CMMC compliant. And to that end, I would highly recommend that you hire a third party to conduct this audit for you. So as an independent third party, you will get the same type of experience that you'll, during a mock audit, that you'll receive in a CMMC certification audit. And I think that'll make your CMMC certification process go much smoother. Again, this is one area where ControlCase can assist you with this, and we do offer a mock audit service that we can perform with your organization to help you get ready for CMMC certification.
All right. So we have one last question we want to answer today, which is, will I be able to update my SPRS score once it is entered on the SPRS portal?
Another good question. Yes, the SPRS portal does allow you to make edits and changes to your NIST 800-171 assessment at any time that you need to make those changes. So if for instance you submitted and you realized there was an error after the submission, there is a role, obviously, that you'll have somebody within your organization will have that role on the SPRS portal where they'll be able to make those changes and edits. As we mentioned in the presentation, you obviously have to provide an update at least every 3 years, but you can make that change and update to your SPRS score and obviously your NIST 800-171 assessment anytime that you wish to make that as part of the SPRS process.
Thank you. So Eric, that's all the time we have today. Hopefully everyone on the call today did find this webinar very useful. We have many questions that are listed in the chat. Just remember that our team will be reaching out to you via email to answer all the questions that we missed on today. Please visit our website, www.controlcase.com, for future webinars on other regulations. Please also follow us on social media, which is at LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day.